What's up, y'all? It's your boy eBay Fight Predictions in the building, and I got a special video for y'all today. I'm gonna be breaking down Petr Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. I love this fight. This is gonna be an awesome fight. I cannot wait for it. I did a really heavy breakdown on this. I looked at their last 6 fights, really their last 5 fights in consecutive order, and then I picked the number 6 fight in different orders of their career. Because I felt like those were really important fights for this matchup. But yeah, let's talk about this fight, man. Let's look at the stats. Petr Yan is the bantamweight champion of the world. Let's see where he's ranked in the pound for pound. He is ranked number 10 on pound for pound list by UFC rankings. Fights out of Russia. He's doing his training camp actually in American Top Team, so he's fighting out of Florida. Age 28. Height 5'7", and reached 67. He's also worked at Tiger Muay Thai. He's done a lot of great stuff and worked with a lot of great gyms. Aljamain Sterling, the number 1 bantamweight in the world, fights out of New York. Right now, he's doing his, camp at Syndicate MMA. That's in Vegas. This is obviously, I'm reading off of what Tapology is saying, but it is what it is. Age 31, height 5'7", and a reach of 71. So they do have the same height. But interestingly, Aljamain does have a 4-inch reach advantage, which is really interesting going into this matchup. But yeah, let's talk about their fights. Let's start off with Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling has just been a perennial contender in this division, and it just complete work ethic. But if we look at his last 5, where he truly started to shine. His performance against Brett Johns, I think this is a really interesting matchup for the Petr Yan fight. Brett Johns actually reminds me a lot of Yan when you really think about it. Good boxing, really good grappling defensively, and he did a lot of good work in there. He had good moments in the beginning of the fight. I think Brett is not as technical as Yan, but he's you could say Yan, a lower version of Yan. You could even say that. If you want to, but he had good moments in the first round, putting the pace, not putting the pace, but pushing and going forward against Aljamain. He did a really good job of that. He had a lot of good moments. He threw an awesome flying knee. He had good takedown defense in the fight, but eventually Aljamain, he got on top of him, got 2 really clutch takedowns, and that kind of saved him the fight. As much as Brett is a good fighter, Aljamain just put that grind on him, and I think he gave him his first loss, which is really interesting. So yeah, that's it is what it is. And then he fights Cody Stamann. This Cody fight was really eye-opening, y'all. I mean, I was shocked how competitive this fight was. Cody was kind of ragdolling Aljamain for a little bit. Like I'm not gonna lie to y'all, he was just imposing his will. He was winning every wrestling scramble, and I think that's what Cody's main objective is to prove that he was the better wrestler. But Aljamain obviously proved in the fight that he was the better MMA grappler. Even though Cody had 3, I think 3, right? Maybe 3 takedowns accounted for. He had a really good double leg. He had a really good, I think he have a it wasn't an outside, it was an inside trip single. He had a lot of good moments in there. In the fight, Aljamain obviously kept going though. If you watch that fight, he kept going for takedown, and that's the thing about Aljamain going into this matchup with Petr Yan. He's gonna have to have this mentality because Yan is gonna stop some takedowns. So this was a really good fight if you're an Aljamain fan, to look at Aljamain's heart and his dedication to going for takedowns and non-stop grappling and not giving up for positions. He kept going until he got his situation, and he ended up getting his back. And he got that fucking knee bar, which was crazy. And it was a fun scrap. That was a good scrap, in my humble opinion. I love that fight. But I was impressed by his determination to keep going and to keep going what he wanted, actually, That's something that was really interesting in that fight. And then his Jimmy Rivera fight, not really much to talk about. He kind of dominated Rivera in the clinch, really. He used his movement and everything. And he was very wild in there. And Rivera had his moments, but he didn't really have anything that standed out to me. But the really thing that really standed out to me against Rivera was Aljamain's just back. His back looks so big in there. He is so strong, right? And how he was just able to keep Rivera against the cage for basically the whole fight. Yeah, they had moments where they were on the feet, but it really didn't play a big factor in this one, and he was able just to keep him there and kind of just dominate. And then his next fight, Pedro Muniz. This was a really interesting fight. Now people are like, oh, Pedro Muniz is trash, or what, or let's say whatever they want. Oh, he lost to Frankie Edgar, right? But the interesting thing about this fight, this is basically a number one contender fight. Pedro was coming off his win over Cody Garbrandt, and Aljamain was obviously coming off his win over Rivera, right? So this is a really interesting fight. There wasn't really any takedowns. There wasn't even wrestling in this fight, really, because of Pedro's what's it called? His jiu-jitsu, and is really, like, I guess Aljamain was scared. But Aljamain used his length and his creativity to win the fight, and he did amazing in there. He kind of just played with Pedro the whole fight. Pedro had his moments, I remembered, in the third, where he kind of clipped him a little bit, but he didn't do anything. And he just had his way with Aljamain. Nah, he didn't have his way with Aljamain. Aljamain Sterling had his way with him. Just the push kicks, everything. Like, all the feints he was throwing, he was biting on everything. Pedro just looked lost. Like, honestly, if there's ever I thought the Pedro Muniz fight with Frankie Edgar was really close, but this one was definitively like, Pedro, you lost, homie. So yeah. And then his Corey Sandhagen performance. There's not a lot to talk about here, honestly. Just how he was able to basically negate all of Corey's movement. That's what really was super, super, super impressive in this matchup. He just pressured him right against the cage, got what he wanted, got on his back, and choked him the fuck out. And there was a lot of things on the line. To this day, I feel like they were trying to screw Aljamain, and I think they wanted Corey Sandhagen to get that W. And it was insane. He got it. I honestly felt like Aljamain shouldn't have fought Corey. It was like a crazy matchup. Why is he fighting Corey? It's not fair. Aljamain deserves to be fighting for a title based on his, victory over Pedro. But they were trying to, screw him over. He got it done and choked him out in the first round. Then, they still were trying to screw this guy. If Marlon Moraes, right? And as we talk about Marlon, Aljamain did have a fight with Marlon, right? And that might be his worst loss of his career. If you compare it to Brian Caraway and Rafael Sanso loss, those losses were via split decision. This was a bad loss. Marlon Moraes face fucked Aljamain Sterling, y'all. There is no way of saying it. Aljamain, he did some stuff, but Marlon kind of sprawled. He threw a big punch, but he sprawled. And then Aljamain tried to pull guard. He was trying everything. He was coming for all the submissions. And then he got right back up, and he met his maker. And that loss has defined him for a long time. That was a bad KO loss. It was a bad KO loss. And, it has defined his career for a very, very long time. And it's really, really interesting. But as much as I talk about this Marlon, and obviously Marlon did, went to do great things, knocked out Assunção, knocked out Rivera, and then went to fight for the title and main evented a pay-per-view. But, I know he's kind of slipped up recently, but, they were really trying to push Marlon. Even after Aljamain beat Corey Sandhagen, if you remember this, there was talks that Marlon, if he beats Corey, will fight for the belt against Jan, because that was a scheduled fight, and they felt like, I guess, they owed Marlon something because they were going to schedule Jan versus Marlon as a headliner, I think, for, like, one of the Russia cards, right? And luckily Corey Sandhagen, went to a second gear. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know how that came out of my mouth. But went to a second gear and been killing everybody lately. So it is what it is at the end of the day. I think Marlon, I don't know, it's a hard. Yeah, it does not look like a good loss anymore. Before it was an okay loss, but now it's like, oh my God, Marlon's getting knocked out by Rob Font, But that was not his best moment, He looked like he was kind of lost in there, and Marlon just looked dominant, But I've talked about his career enough. Aljamain has a great resume. A phenomenal resume and a phenomenal record of 19-3. But if we look at Jan's last 5 fights in the UFC, man, the guy is a killer. Man, he is a straight up killer. All right. And we start off with the fight against Douglas Andrade, man. This guy, Douglas, gotta have some respect for him. Awesome record, 25-2 at the time, which was crazy. I think he's like 26-4 now, I think. But yeah, this guy, he has wins over Marlon Vera, so he's a respectable talent. But yeah, Douglas, he was lost in there. He was trying stuff. He was throwing kicks. He got him caught, and he was tripping him up. He couldn't do anything with Petr Yan in the boxing. His 1-2 is insane. Like, the amount of power he puts in his 2 is just nuts. He just tries to kill people's faces, and yeah, he kind of just dominated, and then he took it to the ground, eventually, and he got, oh my God, some of the worst ground and pound, and that's something you got to look at for the Aljamain fight. When I'm breaking this down, Jan is not gonna be scared to wrestle with this guy. He's actually he might try to take Aljamain down. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised. But just the damage he put on Douglas's face, the blood that came out, it was nuts. He was leaking, and then eventually his corner said no mas. It was a doctor stoppage. No, it was a corner stoppage actually. No, not a doctor stoppage. Corner stoppage, and it was like they don't want the smoke, and he dispatched him real quick. And then his next performance, and this one's a really big red flag for me personally. John Dodson. This John Dodson fight was, Jan had good moments, don't get me wrong. Jan had a lot of good moments, and he showed a lot of good things, but he also showed, come on, bro. Why are you letting John Dodson out here out-wrestle you? I forget, maybe he went for 3 single leg. He caught 3 kicks, to the body. He was really putting Jan on the ground. Jan got up every single time. I will give him that. He got up a lot. But oh my God. But Jan had his moments, the pressure. Obviously, he started really beating up on Dodson eventually. And in that third round, he started really putting it on him, even though Dodson did drop him, which is nuts. It is nuts. I almost forgot to talk. He dropped him. It was such a weird drop. Like, I was like, oh, come on, Jan. You can't, don't let, and it's like, there's nothing wrong with Luke. Dodson he knocked out TJ Dillashaw, right? But the thing with Dodson, and you have to put this into account, he had the hair. And when you seen that hair, you can't be losing it. That was past his prime Dodson too. I don't know if I can give Jan an excuse for that. But one thing I do give Jan a lot of credit for is how he handled the 3rd round after doing all that pressure and adversity. And it was a weird fight too. They had some problems with the referee or some shit. But the way he dealt in that 3rd round, he took Dodson down and kind of just clutched it. And that's something about Jan. He might give up rounds, but he'll always find a way to get it back and clutch it up. That's the good thing about him. He's a clutch performer, basically. That's how you got to really look at it. He did not come here to lose. I will say that. But next up, his fight against Jimmy Rivera was really, really interesting. It was really interesting. Jimmy did really, really good in that fight. I was shocked I forgot how well Jimmy did in that fight. He might have won maybe. Fuck, man. It's crazy. Like, he really lost the first 2 rounds because he got knocked down. Like, honestly. Like, if you throw away those Jimmy might have won the fight. There were good moments in there, but Jan's ability to knock him down in those first 2 were really, really impressive. But, Jimmy had moments in the boxing and the kicking, obviously. But, yeah, the first knockdown was really impressive. All near the cage, which was really interesting. He threw across to the body. And then threw for the first knockdown, obviously, threw like a cross to the body and throw like a lead hook up in the face, almost Michael Chandler-esque, how he knocked down Dan Hooker. And then the second one was just that uppercut. Oh my God! Or it was like an uppercut, and then it was like I think a rear hook that he faked. or some shit like that, and he got him, and it was just so impressive. But another thing that was really interesting was Jan's takedown defense. He showed, I mean, tremendous takedown defense against Rivera, who's a former wrestler, high school wrestler. Yeah, I understand it's not the same thing, but as Aljamain Sterling. But Aljamain's a D3, All-American. As much as I respect the Division III programs and stuff like that, it ain't Division I. I'll say that for sure. So it is what it is. But but I will give, Aljamain is competing in a lot of wrestling tournaments and did really, really good in his last one. So I don't want to come off as a hater. I have a lot of respect for Aljamain. But, Jan showed a lot of good takedown defense against Rivera. And then his Faber fight, that was murder. That was lambs to the slaughter. The UFC knew what they were doing. That was fucked up that they did that to their boy Faber. But, oh my God, that was evil, y'all. That was the most evil shit I've seen in a minute, man. that was, yeah. I guess Faber won. Technically the fucking first round or he didn't win it. He did all right. He just survived. And then the knockdown in the second, which was nuts. And then Jan looking at him like, "What's up? I thought you were gonna give me a better fight than that," which was nuts. And he just beat up on him, man. His face was thrashed. And then the front kick to the fucking face. Oh, my God. In the third round, the fight should have been stopped. After you seen fucking Faber's face, it should have been stopped. But that was legitimate murder, what he did to Faber. And Faber hasn't fought since. It should tell you something. But, and then his Jose Aldo performance. Oh, my God. This was an amazing performance by him. And Aldo, you can say whatever you want, but that guy, in my humble opinion, beat Marlon Rice. He's coming off a win over Marlon Vera just recently. So he's, I think, a legitimate guy at bantamweight. I wouldn't say a top 5 guy, but he's a legitimate guy. Oh, man, that was insane what he was able to do with him. Obviously, Aldo had a lot of success, but I was about to say Marlon. Jan's 1-2 in that fight was, amazing. It was amazing. And how he was just able to dictate the fight. But Aldo had success, with the leg kicks. He had good combos. I thought 2 and 3 were good rounds for him. And I thought he did awesome in there. Jan's pressure. And what Jan was able to do in the 4th and 5th round to him was insane, y'all. It was nuts, man. Like, I was shocked how well he was able to do. And another thing I almost forgot to add before I talk about the 4th and 5th round. Aldo went for a takedown, and he ended up missing it. And you saw how good Jan's takedown defense was. And the ground and pound. I'm telling you, if he gets on top of Aljamain, he's going to make Aljamain pay. He's going to make him pay. He's going to make him pay. Like, he fucked something up in, Aldo's rib. And that was nasty. It was nasty. But, yeah, exactly. What he did in the 4th and 5th rounds was amazing. He put it on Aldo. He made him tired. And eventually he took him down in the 4th. And then, with an awesome trip, by the way. Beautiful trip. Muay Thai-esque. You could see it. Fucking Tiger Muay Thai. They're breeding some champions. And then, and eventually what he did in the 5th round, I'm not going to add the ground and pound clip because it was disgusting. To this day, I watched it. I was like, that referee needs to be fucking executed on site. But what he did to Aldo. But, he broke him. He broke him, basically. And, it is what it is. But he got beat up on, man. He got beat up on. But, it is what it is at the end of the day. But, that was just, it was one of those performances. It was like, man, like that guy is, dude, his boxing is good. His boxing is good. But yeah, let's talk. Obviously there's a 6th fight I have not brought up, and that is his only loss to Magomedov. This is a very interesting matchup. I picked this fight, even though it's his only loss. Magomedov reminds me a lot of Aljamain, really, very. He's long, he's rangy, not as strong physically, but obviously he's a good grappler. I ain't gonna lie, he kind of threw Petr Yan a little bit. Threw him around like a baby, I ain't gonna lie. He had a lot of good moments in here. This is obviously when they were fighting on, what's it called? ACB, awesome promotion in Russia. Obviously, they're producing some good guys. But yeah, he threw him around. The first 2 rounds, he kind of had his way with him. You know, he had his back for a long majority of the fight, of the first part of the fight, and he was doing his thing. And there was a big takedown, and I could see Aljamain doing that, right? But what Jan did and proved to me, and this is what solidified it for me, his ability to overcome and clutch it up. I say it all the time, clutch it up. And what does that mean, clutch it up? You know, go out there and give your all in those last 5 and try to do something. You know, try to get something. Try to tie the game. Try to tie the rounds or something, you know? And that's what he was able to do. That was a split decision loss. A lot of people felt like Jan won that fight. You know, they felt like he took the last 3. Obviously, I kind of see why they gave it to Magomedov. Dude, that was so impressive, and how he was able to stop and stuff takedowns near the end and get his own big takedown, and then the clinch work and all he did, and he put it on Magomedov, and he hurt him bad. But even though they did give the nod to Magomedov, he ended up fighting him again, and he ended up beating him, and that was a wash. 5 rounds, in my humble opinion, went to Petr Yan. I will link those 2 fights if you guys want. It's all for free on YouTube. They're awesome fights. You guys should check them out. But that's enough about their records and their past fights. Obviously, we gotta talk about this fight. And here's what I'm gonna say: I can see Aljamain Sterling really winning this fight with a grappling heavy game plan of putting Yan against the cage. We've seen it happen before. Magomedov was able to do it for only 2 rounds, if I'm being honest. And even in the second fight, he was able to kind of keep him against the cage. He wasn't really able to take him down per se. But in this fight, Aljamain has a real good chance of going for takedown. I don't think his takedowns are as good. He's not a Division I wrestler, right? But his grappling and his MMA wrestling, are, oh my God, it's on a supreme level, right? And his ability to weather the storm and keep going. This fight, sorry for the interruption, y'all. I love y'all. But yeah, this computer be tripping sometimes. But yeah, like I was saying, this fight will be determined by who digs deeper. And I think Aljamain, if he can keep it against the cage, he can dig deep and maybe get a submission or maybe just get a decision win. This is going to be one of those situations where he's fighting a guy like Yan. Either he's going to have to just break it. If he had, like, let's say, a cross face, right, on Yan and around his face, and Yan has a option to either get my face broken or tap out, right? He's gonna get his face broken. I promise you. That's how tough this kid is. And but Aljamain, I don't think Aljamain has a problem with breaking this guy's face. So, which is an interesting thing to think about. But I think if he can grind out a decision, that's his best way of doing it. And just kind of like, he's been saying it. Yan is a paper champ. He hasn't fought the level of competition he has fought. And that is true. That is honestly true. There's no lie, and there's no lie that is being told when he says that statement. But what makes this fight super interesting is what Yan his potential is. And that's why I kind of give Yan a pass for that. But he's right. He hasn't fought the level of competition Aljamain has. Aljamain is a grinder. He works hard. He's fought for everything, and I have a lot of respect for that. And I don't want to come off and disrespect that. But if he can prove I listen to Aljamain's podcast. Like, I hear him talking shit, right? And if he can prove everything he said on on his podcast, right? And say that this guy, he doesn't work hard. Well, not necessarily doesn't work hard, but he will get tired when he fights him and he will break him. If he can do that, he can do it. And I think that's a way I can see Aljamain winning, but I don't see it that way. Sadly, I see Aljamain breaking. I think Yan is grossly actually underestimated by his potential. Yeah, there is a corporate push, but he beat Jimmy Rivera. You got to give him that. Jimmy, I know, wasn't necessarily in the top 5, right? But he's coming off losses to top 5 guys. I think Jimmy might have been 7. I don't know why Yan got shot up all the way to number 4 after the Jimmy Rivera fight, which was interesting. But like I was saying, he I just think his potential, And the Magomedov fight really solidified it for me that he's a top level guy. It's just he hasn't had the opportunity to show it. And that's just the difference. Aljamain had an opportunity to show it. And obviously, Aljamain would have preferred a road to the title like Jan, but Aljamain had to take it the hard way. And there's nothing wrong with that. Guys, they go faster. Guys go slower. It's the name of the game. But Jan's ability to stuff takedowns and keep the pressure is different and not get deterred. He has a championship level mindset, and so does Aljamain. I really do believe that. But Jan is just a little different, and he takes things personal. So everything that what's it called, that Aljamain has said, he's taken if you look at his Twitter, I really do believe. I remember Patchy Mix said something before his fight against Juan Archuleta about Peter Yan, and Patchy ends up losing his fight against Juan Archuleta. Yan post-him said, "Don't open your mouth next time, punk. Go win a fight." Or so he ethered this guy after the fight, after he lost for no reason. He takes shit personal. So I think Jan is gonna come out here and he's gonna take it personal, and he's gonna go and he's gonna try to break Aljamain. I think he wants to break Aljamain, and I think Jan, to be a really good defensive wrestler or counter wrestler, you have to sprawl and you have to have the mentality to, I'm gonna break this guy with my takedown defense. I think Jan is going to try to break Aljamain with his takedown defense and then impose his striking near the end and put on me serious volume. And if he can get on top, oh my God, he might put lethal ground and pound. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I am more impressed with Jan's ground and pound than Aljamain. And he's going to put it on Aljamain. And I wouldn't be surprised if he throws a lot of calf kicks. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to deter Aljamain a little bit, but I think Jan's gonna put up, a performance of a lifetime on Aljamain, and obviously Aljamain does have the reach, right, and he can dictate a fight. When he's on the standing, I think he can have success with his jab, but he has a very weird style. But I think the problem is I think Aljamain's gonna go for too many takedowns. And he's going to get a lactic acid going through his arms. His arm's going to get tired. I think Jan's going to be fresh. And I think we see a 5th round TKO. I think it's going to be an awesome fight. I think great scrambles. These guys are going to go for it. But I think Jan beats him and takes him out in the 5th round. And that's what I'm going with. I just think Jan's going to get it done. I think Jan is the future. And Aljamain going to be looking like George Floyd. He's going to be looking like George Floyd in there. I promise y'all, after what Jan do to Aljamain, there's going to be a bunch of Black Lives Matter protests. I'm sorry, y'all. But Jan is on, I just think he's on a different level than Aljamain. And it's just that simple. No disrespect to him. Yeah, I don't think Aljamain is going to beat Jan. And I think Jan is going to put it on him, man. He's going to break his face, y'all. He's going to break his face, bro. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Talk to y'all later. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Obviously, don't forget to share the video, like, comment. Go follow my Instagram. Go follow my Twitter. It's your boy, eBay Fight Predictions, out of here. And y'all know what I'm saying. Jan by 5th round TKO. He's going to kill that man. It's going to be a dead body walk. All right, love y'all and goodbye.